And I can't hold it much longer. Gonna let go so I can be free.
We're back. Hopefully, many of you caught us last night, either live or after the fact. We did a little post-game on Yankees Guardians Game 1, and we also talked about Game 2 of the Dodgers and the Mets. Our next post-game show is tomorrow night. The Dodgers and the Mets will handle that one. Tonight, if you want to check out a little Yankees Guardians post-game, Pinstripe Territory has you covered. Dodgers Territory is going to handle some post-game shows coming up this week too, but the FT post-game show next up Wednesday night after Game 3 of Dodgers and Mets. So just a little programming note. And we might as well get into that series right off the jump. So let's charge the damn mound.
He's charging the mound.
You know what I was thinking about?
Do
you remember a few years ago when Steve Cohen took over the Mets and he said he wanted to be the Dodgers of the East?
Yeah.
I feel like that was forgotten. I haven't heard that anywhere.
Why? He spent all the money.
Right. And now they're playing the Dodgers. They're in the final two in the National League side. So you're starting to add up what you want there on the East Coast from what the Dodgers have been bringing to West Coast baseball for a while. I think David Stearns is a big part of that, what he's brought to the mix, what Andrew Friedman's done in LA. You're seeing, in my mind, actually maybe a better version because they actually have legit traditional starters to be able to carry in a series.
You're right. I think David Stearns, though, I think Kratz made David Stearns angry.
Why?
I don't know. I went up to him and I saw him a couple times and said hi to him. And he was very cordial to me.
Cordial?
Said, will you please come on? Will you come on again? Because I forget we had him on. And he said, no, Kratz asked me a bad question. So I don't know what he did. But apparently Kratz did something.
Apparently, that's what I do. I ruffle feathers. But I wouldn't say they're a better version. I wouldn't say – I mean, the Dodgers if you're building an organization, we hear all the time, we want to be the Rays. We want to run this like the Rays. Run it like the Dodgers. They're doing everything right from the manager to the front office to how they take care of hurt players. Maybe they could keep some guys healthy, but – they're not quite there yet. I know Stearns is not mad at me. I don't think he's ever mad at anybody.
He's a nice guy. I've heard that he's also really good at including everyone in the organization to give their take. Because some orgs are like, it's big boss making the decisions, whether, owner and then president of baseball ops, GM, whatever. And they're mostly calling for everything, taking info and making the call. And I've heard Stearns is one of the GMs who really surveys the scene.
Good for him.
That's cool.
No, he's a nice fellow.
But they might have a better version this year was my point. Because this year they have starters.
Yes, but here's the thing is if they want to become the Dodgers of the East, they got to win repeatedly. The Dodgers have won been in the playoffs for a lot of years in a row. So you've got to win the East, which they didn't do this year, repeatedly. No. And you got to get to the postseason, and you got to make deep runs, and you got to win a World Series that the Dodgers did. I know people are going to be like, it has an asterisk. Because it was a COVID year, but they still won the tournament they were allowed to play in.
Yeah, or I mean, I'll make the case against that. I don't think you have to win divisions. I think you just have to get into the playoffs. You got to just get into
I think a division
run.
title still means something, even though you might not win the World Series. It still means something because it still is a banner you hang, and it still means you're better than the rest of the teams in your division.
What if you are a wild card team for 6 out of 8 years and you take 2 World Series titles?
Well, yeah. Well, if ifs and buts were candies and nuts.
I'm just saying, I think, the wild card system is promoting the 54% rule. That is what it's about. Can you just get in and play tournament ball and then see what happens?
There's a reason you picked the teams that you picked to get to the World Series. You thought they were the best. Every team needs to build their best roster they can possibly build. And AJ's right. You want to win the division. If you make the playoffs and you lose, let's say you lose in the American League Championship Series, National League Championship Series, and you didn't win the division, nobody's going to remember that team. Nobody's going to remember that. So it's either make it to the World Series or win your division. And to me, if you want to be the Dodgers, that's what we're comparing it to. You want to be the Dodgers of the East, you got to win your division. You got to start dominating what I think is the best division in baseball right now.
Okay. So then let's get into the series specifically because the Mets started off their season 0-5, 24-35, nothing for a couple months. They came roaring back. They had a lot of late comeback wins, right? They had the amazing doubleheader first game Braves series that got them into the playoffs. The Pete Alonso homer against the Brewers. They did damage against the Phillies bullpen. And here in this series, they get smacked in the face in game one. They lose 9-0. People forget that scores of games don't matter carrying into the next day. And they won. Mm-hmm. They split the series in LA. They did exactly what you want to do realistically if you are.
They lost to the Dodgers' best pitcher. And their best pitcher beat the Dodgers on a day he was supposed to win.
Perfect. Now you go home. And
now, I don't see either team winning 3 in a row in New York.
No.
I just don't see it happening. I think we're going back to LA here, and I think that it's going to be a great series. And it's going to be interesting to see how the Dodgers play their pitching with Buehler going. I mean, the Mets are lined up pitching-wise better because of the starters you mentioned.
Yeah, and then you have Yamamoto, game 4, right?
But how does Buehler do? I mean, I feel like Severino has pitched enough postseason games. We kind of got an idea what he's going to do, right?
Yep.
I don't know. I feel like the Mets are more lined up in a better position. But they have Senga in game 5, so it's like, what are we going to get out of him? And
you have to be careful if you're the Dodgers because if you're going to be really aggressive with your bullpen on the Buehler day, if
3 days in a
row, give them a short leash, you're going to eventually get burned on that one. So I think they're going to try and let Buehler eat a little bit and get ground balls like he did last time around.
Yeah, maybe. If he pitches well, what happens if the Mets go and whack him? I mean, the Mets have Severino, Quintana, Senga lined up.
Yeah.
I think if you would have gone to Carlos Mendoza and said, before the season starts, you're in the LCS, you're playing, we don't care who you are, and you have those 3 lined up, he'd probably say, we're in a good spot.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, before the season? You went to him and said that? I mean, before the postseason, yeah. Before the season, they didn't know they were going to get what they got out of Severino. They didn't know Minaya was going to become what he is. Obviously, they thought Senga was going to be the same guy he was last year. The landscape totally changed for the positive for the Mets.
That's what I'm saying. But what I meant is if you would have said that, because if they were in the LCS and they had those 3 guys pitching, that means Severino had a pretty good year. That means Quintana had a pretty good year.
I got you.
You see what I'm saying? Like that means they've had pretty good years. It's not like they just jumped. That's what I mean.
Number one reason why they are where they are is because they nailed their pitcher signings and they kept them healthy and they made them better. Number one reason. Because it's not just 1 or 2. I mean, they nailed it. Everybody that they've got in that rotation is a great story from this year. And then in the lineup, we talked a little bit about this in our post-game show, which is on YouTube. Subscribe to FT. But Mark Vientos took that little intentional walk personally. I like this. This was fun from Tom Verducci. He's gone back and forth on the interview, and he's like, yeah, I actually did take that personally. Why not? I mean, doesn't everybody?
Everybody
right?
does.
So it's fun to point it out. Then you get the Jordan memes, right, from the documentary, and I took that personally. He's the guy. Yeah, let's show it.
Thanks, Ken. With Mark Vientos. And Mark, around the Mets here, they call you Swaggy V. When Francisco Lindor is walked intentionally in front of you, 2 outs, bases loaded, were you feeling swaggy or insulted?
To be honest with you, I took it personal. I was like, okay, I mean, you want me up to the plate, I'm going to try to drive in a run. Honestly, I was trying to simplify the game. I wasn't trying to do too much, but I did take it personal that they walked Lindor for the bases loaded for me.
Well, take me through that at bat because you saw 4 consecutive sliders long at bat, and they tried to get a fastball by you.
Oh, no, I mean, honestly, I was just trying to simplify the game. I was trying to put a ball in the gaps or just get a walk, honestly. I wasn't trying to swing at anything in the dirt. I know today they were throwing me a lot of pitches down and away, and I was trying to see them up, so.
Mark, you're going to get on a plane and go home. The series tied 1-1, Game 3 at Citi Field. How do you like your position?
I think we're in a great spot. I like the momentum we got. I like the energy we brought in this day game, and we got to keep it going.
We'll see you back in New York. Thank you.
Thank you.
I like that setup. If you're listening on the pod right now, they just put him in Jordan's little, what do you call that? A love seat?
Yeah. House.
Love seat, house.
Shack.
And I took that personally. guest house. But
Everybody takes a
he's a
personal.
fun guy.
Everyone does, Scott. But I'll say this. Thank you, Mark, because you hit my bet for me.
That's true.
And I get double because he got a hit off a lefty, which Scott said was impossible.
You don't get double.
Yeah, I do.
for that.
I make the rules, Scott.
There's
You
just
don't.
not many
We'll
lefties.
we'll give you double. We really will. We'll give you double.
Double high fives. Double high fives.
Scott's just mad because he can't win a bet, so he's taking away from the happy guys that win their
I'm
bets.
not mad. I'm happy. I'm happy for you. I'm happy for my friends when they win their bets. But is he one of those rookies that doesn't feel any pressure because you're just happy to be here and it's your rookie season? I mean, first full season, I should say.
I just think he's a good player, and he's really figured it out. And I know talking to the Mets last series, Lindor's kind of taken him under his wing a little bit. A lot of their veteran guys have kind of grabbed him because he is like the one young guy, him and Alvarez.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of those guys on this team are veteran guys. JD's grabbed him. Lindor's kind of grabbed him. And they've taken him under their wing and said, hey, this is what we need to see out of you. I mean, he had a good year. He hit 27 homers during the regular season.
Yeah,
it wasn't like this guy hit 2 homers. I mean, this guy was a good player for him. I mean, he's one of the reasons he's in this LCS. I mean, he personally destroyed the Phillies. So I think that, no, this kid's a good player, and he's figured it out a little bit, and now you're seeing it on the grand stage.
If they're going to lean and grab guys, the rookies, they need to grab Francisco Alvarez because he is a leader of this team. Like, that's the guy. Like, right now, Vientos he's riding his own train. The veterans don't need to be helping him anymore. He's had big hits. Teams continue to throw strikes to him, which is crazy to me. A guy struck out 135 times this year. Like, make him chase. But I get it with the bases loaded. This situation, you couldn't. But he has got stupid pop. I don't care if it was a day game in LA or not. Like, he clearly can get to some balls. The ball he hit off of Strom in the last series was at his neck. But Francisco Alvarez, he plays with that, like, passion and, like, unbridled. He's not swaggy V. He's back there just playing every single day. And when they're winning, I always look at the catcher. What kind of energy does he bring? Hopefully his hitting doesn't go over to his defense, because that could be an issue. But to me, you can't win a World Series without somebody behind the dish that knows what they're doing. It's just I would love to know what year a team won the World Series when they had a catcher that was not able to do it. So there's a lot of credit to Alvarez too.
Yeah, he left a ton of dudes on base. He's swinging under the ball. Like, he looks lost. He's at the bottom of the order. It's okay.
He's hitting ninth.
Yeah, he's hitting ninth.
He's trying. He looks like he's the one guy that's pressing at the plate for the Mets.
Yes,
that's why
he
I
is
said
swinging out of his. He's swinging out of his rear.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know he does that a lot, and he's a home run guy, but he's had a lot of opportunities with guys in scoring position, like runners on third, and he is still taking that swing.
7 left on base in the first 3 ABs alone. I knew that stat. So we'll see. Let's get into this series more. Ken Rosenthal in the waiting room. So we'll bring in Kenny Ballgame next on FT. But also a reminder that Mets Up covers this series, just like Dodgers territory, both part of the FT network. Yeah, we've got team shows all over the FT network, and these two have been all hyped up about it. So their latest episode is out now. Go check it out on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts to listen to. Ken Rosenthal next on FT. This episode of FT is sponsored by HelloFresh. Now I'll give you a pop quiz. Each week when you're choosing from the long list of recipes, how many recipes are on the website, at least?
50.
Each week.
50 cents.
That is good. 50 plus recipes. Yep, you nailed it. That was good. Pre-portioned ingredients. It's America's #1 meal kit. Then what happens once you make your selection and you add it to your cart and then you're good to go? What happens next?
When you make your selection, they send it to your house.
Correct.
And then you cook that John, and it tastes delicious. Yeah. And you have leftovers.
Don't worry about anything else. Exactly. And if you're picky or you just have a certain plan you're going off of in life, quick and easy, vegetarian, fit and wholesome, etc. HelloFresh makes it easy for you. So go check it out. I promise you, when you get to the end of your cart and you see what your total is, you're going to be like, okay, this was worth it. 10 free meals at HelloFresh.com/freeFT is applied across 7 boxes, new subscribers only. It varies by plan. It's 10 free HelloFresh meals just by going to HelloFresh.com/FT. Get after it, FT fam. Let's hit the inside scoop with FT Senior Insider Ken Rosenthal. It's powered by MLB 9 Innings 24. Ken, great to talk to you. Hope you're enjoying this series. So you also wrote about the state of the bullpen for the Dodgers in this NLCS. So what do you have for us on where the Dodgers stand heading into 3 consecutive games to be played in New York?
They should be okay with regard to their bullpen. They have not used their high leverage guys in the last game and not even many of them in the first game. So they should be rested. That's the good news. The bad news is if this goes 6, they're going to have a bullpen game again. And I said on the broadcast before the game last night, and I wrote it today as well, bullpen games are problematic. They did a brilliant job, a masterful job in Game 4 of the division series against the Padres, but it's hard to pull that off repeatedly. You're basically asking every reliever to be perfect or the equation crumbles. And then yesterday they turned to Landon Knack. He was far from perfect, and the equation crumbled. So they've got Buehler going in Game 3. And then they've got, who am I missing, guys? Flaherty's in Game 5. Oh, Yamamoto's in Game 4. Yeah, Buehler, Yamamoto, Flaherty lined up. The bullpen game, if necessary, would be Game 6, and then they could go Buehler in Game 7. They should be in good shape, but Daniel Hudson was down yesterday. Alex Vesia is out, so their bullpen is not what it was in the division series, and that, too, is a problem. All that said, they still stand an excellent chance of winning this series, as do the Mets. It seems to me that this is going to be back and forth, and the two teams, they each have their strengths, they each have their weaknesses, and we're going to see this all play out. The Mets bullpen, which of course has been subject of much scrutiny, was pretty good yesterday. So, again, I'm looking forward to the next 3 games just to see all of it unfold.
Ken, the bullpen, first of all, the bullpen games go awry when one guy doesn't do what they're supposed to do. And all it takes is one guy to have one bad inning. Landon Knack had it yesterday, and it threw everything out of whack for Dave Roberts. So what can they expect from Buehler? Because he had one, he had not a great season. He had a decent start against the Padres, obviously. Not great, but decent. What do they expect out of him? And are they going to count on him, if it goes 7, to throw 2 games in this series?
Well, yes, and that's the way it's lined up. Now, what can you expect out of him? I think the answer to that, AJ, is we don't know. He has yet to go more than 6 innings this season. Remember, he was coming off Tommy John. Then he had the hip injury that cost him about 2 months. He has been up and down. Now, in the division series, that start he had, it was interesting. He gave up those runs in the 2nd inning. I believe it was 6. And a lot of that was ground balls getting through, plays not getting made. And then he settled down to pitch 3 scoreless innings. I believe it was that. So he showed something there. Showed a lot, actually, and set up really the whole pitching staff for the bullpen game that followed. What we will see tomorrow, I just don't know. I don't know that you can count on Walker Buehler to be the consistent Walker Buehler that he once was, the October version of Walker Buehler who burst onto the scene a few years back. At the same time, he's extremely competitive. We know that. He is working his way back. The Dodgers seem to be high on him right now, and they don't have much choice, guys. Most of their starting pitchers are hurt, so they're left with this group. Yamamoto has yet to go more than 5 innings since coming off the injured list. And then Flaherty was really good his last time. Can you expect 7 scoreless or 7 innings the way he pitched that one game? I don't know. So their pitching is problematic, whereas the Mets, it's a little bit more stable. You've got Severino, you've got Quintana, you've got the makings of a reasonable flow. Now, the problem there is I don't know that their bullpen can hold down the Dodgers in the late innings consistently in this series.
Well, that's what that brings up my question is you talked about, their bullpen's been consistent. Has their bullpen been consistent because Carlos Mendoza hasn't really had to go to too many guys? Like he's just stayed kind of like Bochy did last year with the Rangers. His 3 or 4 guys, and that is it. So is that a case of
Case of
we could fill in the blank and say anything.
Well, let me see
I
if
got
I
a
can
question.
answer. I think I know where Eric was going. So I wouldn't say the Mets bullpen has been consistent. I don't know that any Mets fan would say the Mets bullpen has been consistent. The trust tree is not what it was. Obviously, they don't have that many guys that they can turn to, but Carlos Mendoza will manage this as best he can. And the fact that they have starters, guys who can go deeper into games, that does help them. So we'll see how it plays out. I will stand by what I said early in the series. I don't know that they have an answer for Ohtani in the late innings because of their lack of dominant left-handed relief. But at the same time, Ohtani's kind of in a funky place right now. So the beauty of this, guys, to me, is we can talk all we want. The games give us all the answers we need.
Okay, Ken. So was the Jack Flaherty, Michael Kopech, Tommy Edman, was that the best trade deadline acquisitions of any team? Because Jack Flaherty's 7 shutty, Kopech's a late inning weapon, and now Tommy Edman's playing shortstop, getting 3 hits every game. I mean, did the Dodgers just crush the trade deadline?
It certainly looks like that, right, AJ? And those were separate trades. Flaherty came in one, Kopech and Edman in another. The White Sox trade, which also included Eric Fetty going to St. Louis. We'll see what the White Sox ultimately come out of that with, but to me, they did not get enough for 3 guys that have value. That's where you start here. Yes, the Dodgers, remember, Flaherty was a guy that the Yankees had a preliminary trade agreement in place for, and then they looked at his medicals, didn't feel great about it, kind of backed out, and that enabled the Dodgers to jump in, and he has not had an issue with his back since and has pitched really well. Game 1 was brilliant. So that was really good. Edman has always been a good player. Remember, at the deadline, AJ, he hadn't played a single game this season. He was coming off that surgery. He just was kind of having a stop-and-start year. So when he is healthy, he's a very good player. We've seen that. And then Kopech, like so many relievers who go to L.A. and some of these other pitching-rich teams, he seemed to find another gear, and that is what has happened.
Okay, so Ken, when you get the World Series that you're rooting for, which is Yankees-Dodgers, what's it going to be like when Jack Flaherty takes the mound? Let's say he pitches in Yankee Stadium, pitches Game 5, the Dodgers win in 6, he starts, in Yankee Stadium. I mean, is the crowd going to be all over him? And let's say he goes out and shows. Is the crowd going to be? No, I know, but is the crowd? Yeah, but you know how Yankee fans are, Ken. Come on, you're one of them. But will they be mad at Cashman? Will they be mad? Who are they going to be mad at? Aaron Boone, the team doctor? Are they going to figure out who the team doctor is and go find him and boo him? I mean, if Jack Flaherty goes out and deals, I mean, Yankee fans are not going to be happy.
In the hypothetical scenario you suggest, and we've got to get there first. We've got to get Yankees, Dodgers for this even to come into play. They would be mad at Cashman, I think, because that was his decision to ultimately not execute that trade. And doctors have different opinions. We know this just from our own personal lives, right? You don't always have the same opinions issued by doctors for your own individual circumstances. And in this case, it seemed that the Yankees just felt for what they were giving up, it was too big a risk. Was that judgment not accurate? Probably not, the way we've seen this all evolve. But at the same time, they made their decision. They also had a good deadline. They did some good things at the deadline, Chaz Chisholm Jr., of course, being foremost among them. And as it turns out, AJ, honestly, their pitching is in really good shape right now. They've got starters, they've got relievers. It's a small group that they trust, but they're all performing really well, and they're in a good place.
So, Ken, I want to go back to the Dodgers and the Mets for a moment. A two-part question for you. One, we were talking about how Steve Cohen said he wants to turn his franchise into the Dodgers of the East. So I'm curious, being around this team, what you've seen in terms of progress to get to that point, besides, of course, results. They're in the NLCS. That's huge. Two is anything that differs from these franchises. Of course, I immediately look at the pitching because the Dodgers are having to scratch and claw everything together. Mets have a really nice traditional starting pitching setup. Dodgers have the hardest throwing minor league pitchers, and there are so many damn injuries, and Gavin Stone's injury pops up again yesterday because he gets shoulder surgery. So anyway, with all of that said, comparing and contrasting these two orgs at the moment, what do you think?
Well, it's interesting. The Mets did want to be the Dodgers. That's exactly what Steve Cohen said upon taking over the team. And what he was thinking was spend a lot of money early, get the team competitive again, which is exactly what the Dodgers did, and then at the same time build up the farm system. Now, they took some detours along the way. They signed Scherzer and Verlander, and then they traded them. But in those trades, they got young players. And we're starting to see now the young players factor into their mix. Vientos, Alvarez, Acuna is up and playing active in this series. And there will be others as well. As David Peterson is a farm system product. Tyler McGill. So it's kind of working the way they intended. And David Stearns now, as the president of baseball operations, he's a guy that, obviously with his experience in Milwaukee, knows how to at least develop players. Now, the spending part is not something he's necessarily familiar with, but he'll be able to handle that too. So, yeah, they're on their way toward being what they wanted to be when Cohen took over, I believe, in November 2020. It's taken a while, but they're getting there.
I want a quick hit on your great article about Doc Roberts, about Dave Roberts, manager for the Dodgers. He is not extended past 2025. You had a comment in the article saying, or maybe it was his comment, and you wrote it, that the games where his starters started were more stressful than the full-out bullpen game. Did he give any more context to that?
What he meant, Eric, is that when you have a starter in that kind of context, then you have to make the decision on when to pull him. And that can be tricky, as we all know. Bullpen game, you kind of have it mapped out. You do what you're going to do. Obviously, yesterday it didn't work out so well. Game 4 of the DS, it did. So it can be more problematic. And this was referring back to the Yamamoto game, in which he was really good for 5. And Bob Guerin, one of their coaches, said to me that it took some guts to pull him. I don't know that it really took guts because the top of the order was coming up. It was the right time. But that adds a layer of complexity to the decision-making. And that is what Roberts was talking about. Now, he'll like that scenario if he gets it in Game 3 with Buehler, in Game 4 with Yamamoto, and in Game 5 with Flaherty. If these guys are going deep enough where he's got to make a decision, he's good with that, believe me.
But he wants to get him out of there. He's worried about the third time through. Did he ever mention anything about third time through with his relievers going 3 and 4 times in a series?
Eric, basically the third time through is almost a staple of the game now. And it's very rare when a starting pitcher is allowed to go much beyond that in the postseason. We saw it with Flaherty the other nights, for sure, but he was going really well. And the numbers suggest that third time through doesn't always work. Now, what's really interesting, guys, is we've got 3 games in a row coming up. And we've got 5 games in 6 days, potentially, with the series the way it's playing out. The Dodgers bullpen is going to be worn out a little bit. The Mets bullpen is going to be worn out a little bit. And how they're going to get to the finish line, that's one of the questions I have here. Because remember, Hudson was down yesterday. Vesia is out. Blake Trinan, 37 years old. So can these guys all keep it going? I don't know. And that's one of the issues that the Dodgers are facing right now.
Ken, I want to take you out of the playoffs just for one topic. Obviously, we'll get to plenty of offseason talk after the World Series ends, but this one I think was just too pressing, and I don't think we've talked about it yet. The Minnesota Twins are for sale. Your colleague at The Athletic, Aaron Gleeman, wrote a brilliant article on history, misery, everything that's added up for 4 decades of the Pohlads owning the team and a third-generation owner now calling it quits, essentially, and getting out of the business. What are your thoughts on what you've seen from either that article or just covering the Twins over these years and how I've seen the fan base exploding over this news in a happy way?
Yes, and their fans, like a number of other fan bases in other cities, are at a point where they are extremely frustrated with the current ownership. And I could name 5 or 6 other teams in the same situation with their fans. I actually wrote about this not so long ago, and I don't even think I included the Twins in that article. But certainly the frustration with the Pohlads was there. They went backward on payroll last year after a playoff season when they should have been going forward. And it just seems like they don't want to make the Pohlads the commitment that fans would like to see them make. Now, teams are never going to spend enough money for fans' liking. We all get that, and we all understand that it can be frustrating when billionaires are not putting money into the team the way they should in the opinions of fans. At the same time, maybe some new energy will do this team good. It seems to me one of the reasons they're getting out is the regional television situation that is kind of flummoxing every team or involved in that situation. So we'll see what happens. But yes, the reaction of the fan base, sure. It told you where the fans were with the Pohlads, and they're ready for someone else. Now, I will say this. The person coming in might not be any better than the person coming out, but at least in this particular case, it seems like change for change's sake would be welcome in Minnesota and will be welcome.
Ken, I'm going to use your favorite interview guy, Kike Hernandez's quote. Twins fans don't give up. Okay? They
We're
just
live.
want new grass. The
We're live.
grass.
We're live.
Are we? Are we, Ken? Because you didn't seem like you were very happy when that live shot went out over the air. You kind of were like, okay, we're done. Let's see who else I can find. But
Well,
that's
AJ,
okay.
should I have been happy?
I don't know. It's not your money you got to pay the fine for.
You didn't say it.
All right, but before we go, I do have to ask you this. Ken, I am honored that you came on today because I know you guys, your chartered plane last night was very late, right? So what time did you guys get in? And were you on which charter were you on? Were you on the talent charter, which was the nice one, or were you on the crew charter?
We were on a commercial plane, a number of us.
Oh!
Yeah, we flew and we left at 9 and we got in at 5 in the morning. It was a red eye. So, yeah, it's not the best situation. AJ, you've been there before. You know that.
Yeah, but
Play
I figured,
on.
I figured with you, Ken, you'd have, got Smoltz and Davis to charter a flight, and you just would have sat like in the jump seat and rode and, enjoyed your martini and sipped on your champagne.
So, Ken.
But I will say this, you're mad because the crew all got Chick-fil-A on their flight. So, I never seen people from California react like they got Chick-fil-A. Like down here, there's a Chick-fil-A on every corner. So
they were
those
excited.
Northerners and the California people get that Chick-fil-A. It's like Christmas Day, man. Like, yeah, we got Chick-fil-A.
AJ, I was good. Just know that. I was good. man.
Your caviar,
Didn't
your
even need
champagne and
Chick-fil-A.
caviar in first class was just fine, right,
He was
Ken?
taken care of.
Oh,
Yes, exactly. Well, you look well rested, Ken. Enjoy this 3-game set coming up in New York. It's going to be freaking wild. We'll talk to you later this week. We'll
You
hear
know
from
why
you on
Ken
Fan Territory.
flew on the first class plane instead of on the charter? Because
What?
Ken doesn't give them.
Stop. Thank you, Ken. Sorry for my colleague.
I understand. It's all good.
See ya.
See you guys.
Ken Rosenthal. See ya. You'll see him on Fox, of course, for the next 3 games coming up in Queens, and then maybe more if it goes back to LA for the NLCS. Then, of course, World Series after that. It is powered by MLB 9 Innings 24, talking about Inside Scoop. You can get this game, MLB 9 Innings 24, by scanning the QR code on your screen and downloading MLB 9 Innings 24. It's the best baseball game in the palm of your hands, all the latest from the 2024 season, and it looks and it sounds like this. That commercial's sick. Watch.
Wow, not bad for only one MVP. Here's how a 3-time winner does it.
That's cute. Call me when you get to 6:30.
Whatever.
All right, so I want to continue this combo for a moment just because I don't think we're going to cover it anywhere else. But Aaron Gleeman's article in The Athletic is a must-read. It's a must-read on the Twins' collapse and how it was handled after that. Pohland at the end of the season, who was the third-generation owner here, noting he had to make a very difficult business decision to cut payroll, and he would not take a mulligan if he had to do it again. So basically, he would still take the business decision over the team, not making the playoffs just for that. 11 days after saying, firmly that it's all about business, he announces that they're going to sell the team. So the team's listed for $1.5 billion. Initially, they bought it for $44 million. So if they're sold at that market price, it would be a 3,400% profit, or about $40 million per year made for the 40 years of owning the team. Not counting the profits, just from the sales side of things. Just to put into perspective how lucrative a situation like this is. Not to mention also the money that they got from the city for the ballpark for moving over. And, at the time, remember, they threatened to move them to North Carolina. Were you there when that was going on?
Oh, yeah. I was there when we were going to get contracted.
Yep.
I was there when we were going to Charlotte. I was there when we had to buy our own fleeces. I was there once when Mr. Carl Pohland walked in and didn't know who I was, and we were in the playoffs, and he walked in, he's like, hey, Tori. I'm kidding.
But wait, he didn't. He
didn't no idea. No clue. We were in the postseason. He had no idea. The only time I ever saw him, honestly, was in the postseason. Now, this is Carl Pohland. He was older.
Sure. Then there was
Jim.
And then Joe now.
Joe, I think, owns it now, yeah. But it went Carl, Jim, Joe. But Carl, listen, they won 2 World Series while they owned the team, the Twins.
A while ago, but yeah.
87, 91.
Sure.
Right? They got a new stadium.
They did.
I'm sure they're made more than $40 million a year in this whole thing.
Oh, yeah. That's just for the sale part.
No, I know. But I'm just saying.
The other part is
But that's why I think Twins fans are so, as Ken said, flummoxed. What did he say? Flummoxed by their ownership.
They're freaking pissed.
Because
this year's payroll was $40 million below league average.
Because they are good. Their television deal was good. Now, I know they lost that, but
it's excuses. They make tons of money. They made playoff money, and then after all of that, they must have known they were going to sell, and he's just trying to tighten up the books to get it ready for sale. The guy now never spoke about the team. Couldn't tell you probably. The arsenal of Pablo Lopez. There's nothing there.
Yeah, but listen, I'll say this. When I played for the Twins, they were a great organization. Other than that.
Right. Times have changed, though.
No, I know.
All right, let's hit this Yankees-Guardians series. So we did the post-game show last night covering Game 1. We can look ahead to Game 2 because it's not must-win, but you don't want to head – is it must-win for Cleveland? You don't want to head back with a team that relies on their bullpen to Cleveland where you need to rack up wins and have no off days during that stretch. I think they're going to go –
you got your best guy going tonight.
You're going up against Gerrit Cole, also their best guy.
You have Bibee going tonight.
You've got your best guy.
You have
You've
your
got
best guy.
Here's the one thing I'll start with because I was trying to come up with my bets. We'll go over those later. And I was reading one of the sites that I really like to get some crowdsourcing help. And they were talking about how the Twins really exhausted their bullpen yesterday. And I was like, no, they didn't. They didn't use any of their big boys. They were like, watch out, the Guardians.
The Twins weren't exhausted at all. They're nice and rested.
No, they're just ready
Good
for
bullpen,
sale.
though.
Sorry, we were talking about the Twins in the break. The Guardians did not use their high leverage, but in the article I'm reading, they're like, they took up 6 and change innings. I'm like, but those were from guys that they don't need.
Those weren't Smith. Those weren't Gaddis. Those weren't Heron.
So what do you think?
Those weren't Clase.
What do you think about tonight's game? Like, I'm having a hard time. I can see a number of scenarios playing out, but don't you think Stephen Vogt is going to be uber aggressive with how he's playing? He's hoping 3 to 5 tops, probably 4 innings from Bibee, and then go nuts with all your big boys.
First hint of trouble, Bibee's out. Because they can't afford to fall behind.
The problem is the Yankees' style of play. Like, you'll get Glaber on, and then there's, a Judge 2 or 3 run homer, or a Soto homer. Obviously, he homered yesterday, or Giancarlo. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can go batter to batter and see how things are going. Easier to do with Cleveland when there's basically 2 power threats, 2.5 in the lineup. With the Yankees, the deficit can happen quickly.
Kratz, help me out here.
I mean, that's why you sit there and you go, okay, well, in this, that's why you're going to have a guy either pulled early, like, hey, I don't like this matchup with G. Like, to me, I feel like the sweet spot is going to be that second time through when G's up. If Stanton, because he's already navigated, they're fine. He's starting the game, so they're fine with him with Tanner Bibee seeing Judge and Soto twice. It's when you get to Stanton. Do they have an open base? Do they walk Stanton? Do they like the matchup with whoever's behind Stanton? Or is it something that, hey, we need to go after this at-bat right here. We're going Cade Smith. Stanton doesn't see Cade Smith twice, obviously. But to me, you get that matchup. That's where the game's going to hinge. If I'm just looking at it second time through. If there's no traffic, he's going to face Stanton. But it's all about the traffic.
Yeah. It just depends on when he gets in trouble and what the score is. I mean, if they fall behind early, if the Guardians fall behind early, you'll see those guys rolling out quick. He's not going to let Bibee sit around, and it's not a regular season game where you fall down 1 or 2 to nothing. Be like, hey, give us 6 to save us. No. It's going to be, we're down 1 or 2. We better bring our A dudes in this game because they got to win this game.
And really, don't you think behind the scenes they're going, how can we scratch just a run or 2 across against Gerrit Cole? We're a team that's pretty good in the contact world. We run the bases well. How can we get a run or 2 early on? Because I will say this, Gerrit Cole is not the same strikeout artist right now, this current version of him. He didn't have many strikeouts in that last game against the KC team that makes great contact. I think he's pitched 12 and change innings and has like 8 Ks. So Cleveland's going to put the ball in play, and they're just hoping that the ball finds some gaps, right? And they get a run or 2, and then they play that game super aggressive the rest of the way with the bullpen, right?
Gerrit Cole's 7-2 with a 2.82 ERA against the Guardians in his career.
But there's a lot of newbies.
Well, that was this year. He beat them in August 22nd of this year. 6 innings, 1 hit, 5 walks though.
And how many strikeouts?
Only 2.
1, 2. Yeah, I thought it was low.
2.
Guardians don't strike out either.
Yeah. Cole's K-prop, Kratz, is 5.5.
Which is about right.
I smashed the under on that one too.
Okay.
But I think it's much like the Mets yesterday. The Guardians have to score first. It's a big deal, especially on the road, to score first.
Mm-hmm.
And Lindor did it for the Mets yesterday with the leadoff homer, right? The Guardians need somebody in the first inning, second inning, do something, get them on the board and give them some confidence. Because if they go down early, this could be a quick series.
Do you also agree that the Yankees are going to let Cole ride for a bit? Like if he gives up a couple runs early?
It depends on the score. They have a little more leeway.
Yeah. They used Luke Weaver for 5 outs yesterday. He's not doing another 5 or 6.
Yeah, but he didn't throw very many pitches.
I guess you're right. Yeah, it was a low pitch count. And they do have the off day after this. But don't you think they're going to let Cole eat a little bit?
No. I mean, they'll let Cole eat more than they'll let. I mean, what are you comparing it to? They're not going to let Bibee eat as much as they're going to let Cole eat. But I also don't think I thought about parlaying another under with Bibee and Cole with the strikeouts. I think there's a chance that you could get 3 runs off of Cole. If they score more than 3 runs, 3 or more runs, I think the Guardians win.
It's a low scoring game.
Wow, you don't think the Yankees can score 3 runs off the Guardians?
I think it is going to be much tougher than a normal game because they're going to throw those dudes out there, and the Yankees need to do damage against a really, really good bullpen that is rested and has an off day tomorrow, so they're going to be exhausted. You might need to get 5. You might need to navigate 5 outs with Clase here.
Well, Clase might go 2 innings in this game. But I'll say this. The key for Bibee is can he get the Yankees to chase a little bit? Because Bibee kind of throws that high fastball like right at the top of the zone, right? And he gets chases off that, and then he gets chases off his changeup and his breaking ball. So the Yankees are usually pretty good at staying in the zone. He's going to have to figure out a way to get him to chase outside the zone.
Yeah. And
that's the key.
If he misses,
it could go a long way.
A little lower in the zone.
Yes.
And that becomes center cut. He's not the hardest thrower either.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, it could be a tough matchup for them. And then lastly for me, I just wanted to point out a couple of things from yesterday I don't think we got to. Soto had his first home run as a Yankee. His numbers against Alex Cobb are absurd. 9 for 13. I mean, I don't know what you do with that, but I don't think you want to pitch to him. He's seeing everything from Alex Cobb. What? Walk him?
You do the Gerrit Cole.
No. You throw down on that home run prop. That's what I did. Bang. Oh, you mean the team? I don't know what they do, but
How much did you win for that, by the way?
Just put down $10. You win $40.
No, but there's bonus bets. We'll get to that later. Yeah, the big BetMGM promotion. Giancarlo now has 13 home runs in 32 playoff games. And lastly, how many Yankee fans, let's be real here, and they might watch later, so it might not be the live crew that's watching right now. How many Yankee fans wanted Clay Holmes off their roster at one point? They were like, don't even put him on the playoff roster. 3 up, 3 down yesterday. He's a weapon whenever they want him. High leverage. Obviously, Weaver's been a stud. He's striking out half the guys he faces since he took over as closer. But Clay Holmes is a huge key cog in that bullpen right now. So just saying. Keep that in mind. All right, we got Whit Merrifield waiting for us. So let's step aside and then we'll talk to Whit about the playoffs and everything else going on in his world. Next on Foul Territory. So I'll get a question here, continuing from what we just spoke about. Ronald in the chat. Do the Yankees have the easiest road to the World Series of all time?
Of all time? No, because they're playing the second best record in the league.
And I think that was a little bit of a stretch.
Who said that?
Ronald in the chat.
You know how the easiest path to the World Series of all time? All those teams before there was an LCS, because you just won the league and you went right. There was like 8 teams. There was like 4 in each league, and if you won the league, you went to the World Series. That was the easiest time ever.
True. Do you think this is a easy path for them compared to how
it's the easiest one they could have gotten?
It is.
I think. I feel like this is the best.
They can't beat the Astros. They haven't been able to beat the Astros. As soon as the Astros are out, that became an easier path.
And the Orioles too. Let's not forget the Orioles.
Yeah, but they haven't struggled against them in the playoffs like they have the Astros. The Astros have been their playoff kryptonite. Susan Waldman. Quote of the FT quote of the century.
Yep. Are the Yankees the best team in the AL? Are the Astros still in the AL? That was great. Mm-hmm. But the best way to overcome that, don't play them. Don't play them.
Oh, it's Jack Flaherty's birthday today. Who knew?
Not me. I did not know that. But there are storylines regardless, okay? I know Ref had a super chat asking if we're going to see a Subway Series. That might be the case. But if we don't, let's say the Yankees get in and the Dodgers do, the top storyline is going to be that Flaherty trade. And the Yanks are going to be crossing their fingers that they take that series because, if Jack Flaherty beats you in the World Series and you said no to his medicals after messing up the medicals for Montas before that, that's like making a mistake twice, right? So you're going one way on a decision. Now you go all the way the other way on a decision, and that's still the wrong decision. They are tied together. Kratz is shaking his head. They are. They are. You're going to, when you make a mistake and your owner is on your case about it, you are going to be more cautious on the next case that pops up.
Whose fault is that?
Just natural human instincts.
Whose fault is that? Is that the trainer's fault or is that the owner's fault for getting on them because they made the decision based on the information they had for the Montas trade?
Probably doctor. It's a mix. It's doctors and GM and ownership too. Whoever made that decision, given the data they had, and they said, it's not worth it. Remember, we got burned by Montas. Let's skip this. It's someone's fault, I'll tell you that, and it's not Jack Flaherty's fault because he looks pretty damn good. Whit Merrifield joining us next on FT. Here we go. Whit Merrifield joining us right now with the great backdrop. He's in the mountains joining us at the moment. But we'll get to the golf.
He's in his
tournament coming
golf
up in a
simulator.
second.
Looks
Exactly.
like is where he is.
There's a reason why.
Isn't that Pebble? That looks like Pebble Beach behind him.
Yes, sir.
There it is. What's up, Whit? So I just want to start with this because, season's over for you. You had a wild ride.
No, hold on. Before we even dig into his offseason, what he's doing now, let's ask him the question. He's a fellow AL Central strong guy, right? I mean, is this the easiest Yankees road to the World Series of all time? I mean, they had to beat the AL Central basically to get there.
I don't know how to answer that.
I mean,
so
listen,
I was not on Philly when we played Cleveland, nor Atlanta when they played Cleveland. So I never got to play Cleveland this year, so I just saw them from a distance. But knowing a lot of those guys, I know a lot of them took a step forward in their careers this year. I think Jose Ramirez is the best third baseman in baseball. I know Emmanuel Clase did historic things as a closer this year. I think that bullpen was historically good. I don't know who their starters are. I saw Alex Cobb pitch. I didn't even know he was on that team. I know Bibee. He's pretty good. I don't really know who else they have as a starter. So, but the record speaks for themselves. I mean, they played 162 games and won however many they won. So, I don't think that they're a bad team. I just don't think people really know who they are besides J-Ram and Clase. Doesn't mean they're not good. Just means they're not as well known. So,
yeah,
right, well,
is that a good political way to answer?
That's that was a very free agent way to answer that question, by the way. All right, so let me ask you this then. Is Clase, and I saw this, and I'm going to ask you this, and they don't even know what I'm going to ask you right now. Is Clase better than Mariano Rivera? Because Austin Hedges did an interview the other day and said that Mariano Rivera is not as good as Emmanuel Clase. And I was like, I'll take my shot with Mariano.
Yeah, I don't know. I never faced Mariano, but I have faced Clase. It's not fun. Clase throws harder. I think Mo probably – Clase is still fairly young, I think. I think Mo probably had a better feel for pitching just from the outside looking in. I don't know Clase. I don't know. It's hard to argue against the greatest closer of all time. But I do think since they both have the power cutter, you can draw some similarities. But until you do what Mo did in the postseason, it's kind of you can say what you want, but he's the greatest closer of all time.
That's a fun combo, though. I mean, yes, like Whit said.
Maybe for this year, Clase had a better year.
But also it's because of how this stuff looks, in person on TV, whatever you want to call it, right? He throws a cutter that's got way more velo than Mo, but that doesn't mean that it's necessarily a better pitcher, right? And he doesn't walk guys this year, but he does. He left a mistake slider.
I never seen Mariano give up a 3-run homer like Clase did to Kerry Carpenter in the playoffs.
He had a couple playoff blips.
Not very many. Not 3-run homers.
I mean, he had 2 out of 100.
I think the thing with Mo is the length he did it. You got to do it for a long time.
Thank you, Whit. We're losing credibility as a show for having this conversation.
No, we're not. It was a legit. Austin Hedges, your boy said it, Kratzy. It was a conversation.
Okay, well then when Hedgie comes back on, we'll slap him across the face with the truth.
We'll verbally slap him. All right.
Yes.
So let's get to Whit for a sec. So Whit, now season's done, right? You've been in the league for a while. What do you say when you're talking to friends, and all of that about the season that just passed and how crazy it was, and your take of what you just went through?
When I'm talking to fans and friends, I just tell them, hey, just don't worry about this year. Just kind of forget this year ever happened. I don't know. I had so many mixed feelings about this year. Starting with my daughter being born, my first child being born in the middle of spring training. That was a wild ride, and it was difficult for me to be away from her for the first 6 months of her life while I was playing. And so I had that emotion mixed with being on a team in Philly that I truly loved. Those guys were just the best, from the clubhouse to the staff to the support staff to the front office. Like I have nothing bad ever to say about Philadelphia in my time there. Can you guys hear me all right?
I heard a little buzzing from you, but you're good.
Yeah, something just happened.
Okay,
But anyway,
yeah,
so I mean, nothing bad besides the way I played there, frankly, and 140 at bats I got. It was kind of a bummer that I couldn't put together something more than that. But then from that, going to Atlanta, being on a team being from the Southeast that I grew up watching and that everybody in my hometown is a huge fan of, and everybody really from college to high school to everybody. My phone has never blown up as much as it had those 2+ months that I was in Atlanta. So that was a treat, and it was a great team as well, a great group of guys. I had nothing bad to say about them either. So I had so many good memories on top of, the worst probably performance year of my career, offensively anyway. So, just kind of one of those years, but we'll see what the future holds.
That's a good season breakdown for you. But before I get to my question, did you play for free when you went to Atlanta? You said your phone was blowing up. Did you set a parameter for tickets? And were you able to stick to that? Or did you, because people maybe don't know it, players have to pay for their tickets. So it's not a free ride, but people think it's a free ride if they have your phone number.
Yeah, no, I didn't play for free. No, I had a lot of tickets. We had a lot of college friends, a lot of high school friends. But I've come to realize that like the BP passes is kind of the loophole, because it's cool for people to get on the field. That is actually easy and free for us to do, get people BP passes and the tickets itself. Yeah, I really don't mind leaving tickets for people I know. Now, if my teammate from freshman year at high school has a cousin who lives in Atlanta and his brother wants to go to the game, okay, I might be like, sorry, man, I can't do that. But if I know you and you want to come watch me play, I've never had a problem leaving tickets for people.
That's good. That's a good parameter that you set. All right, now, since you played for them, what did you see from afar that happened to the Phillies that got them bounced out of the playoffs?
Have you seen the record after they released me?
I haven't.
I'm just saying, numbers are numbers. Numbers are numbers.
Clubhouse glue. I love that. I love that. I'm on board.
I don't know, man. I don't know. It's just everything that went right early on seemed to go wrong towards the end. It's just about being hot at the right time. I mean, look at the Mets. You look at the two teams. I mean, I'm not going to take anything away from the Mets. They're a good team, and but they're hot right now. There's in no world, if you put those two teams on paper, do the Mets advance over the Phillies, in my opinion. So baseball's so finicky like that, man. You play 162 games, and then it gets to the playoffs, and if you're kind of in a funk like people get in baseball and it's not your time, not much you can do. And I know people are that 5-game or 5-day layoff people like to talk about. I don't think that has anything to do with it. In fact, I probably know that it has nothing to do with it. I've had some of my best baseball after the All-Star break. So I just think that just things weren't going right, and they couldn't quite do enough to right the ship before it got too late.
Can coaches help make that adjustment? Because I'm living outside of Philly here, and it's like they've spent an entire week until the Eagles almost lost to the Browns, talking about the Phillies, and then they're back talking about the Phillies again. Like, because it's like, well, it's everybody's fault except for Bryce's fault. Oh, it's the coaches. Can players or coaches make the adjustment sooner in a 5-game series?
As far as coaches go, like blaming hitting coaches for offensive struggles is the most like out of touch blame that you can do in our sport. I mean, in football, okay, you're calling plays. basketball too. Like basketball, you just kind of set the lineup and the guys play. So in baseball, like you're not putting on plays. Like everyone thinks that when a guy steals, the manager puts a steal on. No, the guy just steals. Like 95% of the time, the guy's stealing. Unless it's a 3-2 count, then the manager is telling you whether to go or not. Otherwise, the guy's just stealing. Like a hit and run is kind of a rare thing anymore. That'll happen once every 2 weeks. So there's not much that the coach is doing outside of giving you a scouting report before the game. And frankly, like every hitter is different. So you can't have just one scouting report for a whole team. I think it's, if I would ever be a hitting coach, and I'd never want to be a hitting coach, that you have to have like individualized reports for pitchers for each player. And I thought K-Long did a great job of that over there in Philly. I really do. But all you can do as a hitting coach is tell the guys what this guy's got. And I mean, they were playing the Mets. They know everybody. Every player knows every pitcher that they were about to face. So there was no surprises. And then you flip the ball and throw the ball and make good flips and throw a good BP, and you've done your job for the day. It's kind of up to the players after that. So I think that's a reach to say it was any coach's fault. It's just how it went, man. Like it sucks. It sucks that we couldn't do enough to get past the Padres in San Diego. Anytime anybody loses, it sucks. You wish you could have done stuff better, but that's why sports are how they are, and that's why you play the postseason to see who can prevail.
Let's be serious here, Whit. You got Kratz's favorite hitting coach of all time fired, so it's okay. It's not your fault. It's Kratz's fault.
Sites, yeah. I mean, same thing. Like it's I don't know the details behind that, but I was kind of surprised to see it. But Sites he's been around for a long time, a great track record, and so it's I guess Atlanta just thought it was time for a new voice, which is part of it. I think the hitting coach is probably the most volatile job in any profession ever.
They're the first one to blame. You never see the bullpen coach get fired, right? The bullpen coach never gets fired. That's why hitting coach is the worst job in the world. But let me ask you this, and this is going back a little bit, but we're talking about the Mets beating the Phillies. I mean, you guys played that epic game against the Mets. Was that one of the best games you've ever been a part of, the first game of that doubleheader? And I know you guys lost, but I'm just saying, like, sitting back looking at it, now obviously if you would have won, you would have said, man, that was incredible. But like watching that game and the way it went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, I mean, that had to be one of the craziest games. You had to be sitting there going, wait, this happened? No, wait, this happened? Wait, oh my gosh. Oh, no way.
Yeah, it was wild because we knew based on the situation how it had led up to that day. We were all cheering before that stuff was going to fall in a way to where we only had to play one game or didn't even have to play a doubleheader at all. But the way it fell, we knew we were going to have to play both games. So everybody was really trying to win that first game. So that way we could have, played the second game in sort of just a prep way. Because the first game was pretty much going to determine where you went, at least for us. If we won the first game, if we won either game, we're going to San Diego. We knew that. So we were hoping to win the first game and then second game just kind of do whatever. And yeah, it was wild. I mean, because it was fairly calm up until like this seventh inning or eighth inning or whatever it was, and then it was like bam, 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 and then it was like, oh crap, they just took the lead. They bring in Edwin Diaz, who's got some of the best stuff in the big leagues, and we take the lead on him, and we're like, oh damn, this is crazy. And then Francisco Lindor hits the homer, and it was just everything happened. Nothing happened, and then everything happened so quickly. And it was crazy. But it was definitely one of the better games I've been a part of for sure.
Yeah, I know obviously the team didn't win, but it's cool to look back on. Like that was a classic. Everyone watching it is like, we are witnessing a classic right now.
That was cool too, that it was like it was day 163 or game 1, whatever. So nobody else was playing, everybody was watching us, and we had that game that happened. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was like an exclusive window of a game to have. Obviously, one other quick follow-up. What did you think of the way that was all handled with the weather. And we were talking about it for the whole week. We're like, it looks really bad, really bad. And then obviously it ends up being not just one, but 2 games. So what did you think of the way it was handled? I'm sure, because you obviously have a say within the players, and then how it ends up being kind of a weird situation where the Mets take that first game and they didn't really have to win the second game. So I don't know. I just thought the whole week was cool to get that one game out of it, but also botched.
I hope that it was a good learning experience for Major League Baseball. So I thought it was handled in a way that they could learn from the way they handled it. The fact that we had to play 2 games at the end of the year and then go and fly 5 hours and play in a wild card postseason game the next day was a lot ridiculous. It'd have been one thing if it's Atlanta in the summertime. It'd have been one thing if were scheduled to play them and this pop-up black cloud storm came through, rain for 6 hours that night. We tried to play the next day, same thing happened. Okay, that's whatever. This was a hurricane coming. Everybody knew it was coming. So I think at that time of the season, being the last week of the season or last week and a half of the season, there was enough time with enough warning, and we both had a mutual off day, that we could have made something work. We could have gone somewhere, done something so that we weren't put, even how inconvenient that would have been, it would have been better than having the doubleheader the day before the postseason. So it's a tough situation for everybody involved, but hopefully that's the league can learn from that and be like, all right, well, we gotta make sure that we're never put in that situation again.
But maybe you weren't in those meetings. Were you, because you were a player rep before, so you weren't in those meetings. What did you hear? Where was the kickback, or what was the holdup? Because I know how those meetings go. The player rep goes into the meeting, talks to the other player rep, and then the team kind of gets together too, and they make a good decision.
Yeah, so Max was our player rep, and he was kind of in the dark with it all, honestly. Which was a little surprising to me that he was in the dark. But yeah, we didn't get a whole lot about. We were being told the situations, like, if we sweep Kansas City and the Mets get swept by Milwaukee and Arizona wins 2 or 3 from whatever it was, then you don't have to play the doubleheader. Or if this happens, you only play 1 game on Monday. But that was really all we were hearing. We weren't really hearing, even leading up to it, that there was any talk of playing somewhere else, playing in a dome, moving the game, moving the game up to the mutual off day, or playing a doubleheader the first day. We never heard if that was ever talked about. And it might have been, but we were never made aware.
Well, we'll keep pushing. Proactive over reactive, especially at that time of year. Hey, they did move up the Guardians-Tigers game from the other day, so I'll give credit there. I don't know how the weather ended up playing out, but it's like, let's not risk this. We're in the playoffs. So good job there. They're learning quickly. Lastly, let's get to the important part of the calendar for you coming up. So the golf tournament, year number 2, and we can tell everyone that we will be there for at least a day for some coverage, to talk to you and some of the other players that are going to be there. So let's start the promo here. Let's get a couple Whit appearances leading up to it and tell us who's going to be there, the dates, any info that people should be following.
Yeah, it's December 4th through the 8th. It's going to be at the Ritz in Orlando again. A great facility last year. A lot of the same guys showing up again. We're hoping to grow the field by about half this year and continue to grow that. I mean, we've had a lot of interest, gained a lot of interest last year because it just such a fun deal. For people that don't know what the tournament is, it's a way for us as athletes. We get a chance to play in a lot of cool charity events and pro-ams and member guests and stuff like that. But we love to compete. It's our nature. It's who we are as athletes. And this is a way for us to take ourselves away from what we're comfortable doing in baseball and compete in something that we're not so accustomed to doing. And people around the sport love golf. I've come to find out I love golf, as you can see from my house. I'm obsessed with golf, and I'm not the only one. So got the idea last year, put it together. It's a true golf tournament. You pay for your nights in the hotel, and there's a big lump sum, and it just goes into your hotel, your golf, your entry fee. We've got some great sponsors that are donating some awesome stuff. We got a night putting contest this year with a Rolex going to the winner. It's just a cool situation. It's right where the father-son PNC tournament is held, where Tiger and Charlie and John Daly and Little John go play every year, which is a fun deal. And it backs right up to it this year. So we should have the grandstands up, scoreboard, all the cool stuff. So we're continuing to grow. A couple new guys this year. Crime Dog is committed. He's going to come play, which will be fun. I got to know him a little bit in Toronto. I like him. I'm looking forward to playing golf with him. So yeah, it's just a fun deal, and hopefully we can continue to grow and guys can get it on their schedule, and we can make it even bigger next year.
Let's do it. Now, Whit, I have to say this personally, from a personal standpoint. You invited me. I cannot come. So I apologize to you. I have a prior engagement, let's just say, that I have to be at. I have another golf tournament that I actually have to be at, so I have to apologize.
You guys in your December.
But I'll say this. If you haven't played the Ritz and you haven't been out to the Ritz, it's an incredible place. And it's special. It's fun. It's a great golf course. And what Whit has done, and I went out there last year. Oh, Kratz must.
Are you a golfer, Kratz?
What were you guys talking about? Were you guys talking about golf?
I didn't know you were a golfer. See, this is the problem too with doing this thing is I don't know who all plays, and so it's all word of mouth. And if anybody plays, let me know.
Whit, if you want a donation to the cause, just invite Kratz because he will be the donation to the cause. So yes, invite him.
If you want to play, I would love for you to play. I didn't know you played.
Build the pot.
The two people you need to invite are Kratz and Johnny Damon. And that way you know you won't finish last.
Don't know Johnny, but we'd love to have him.
It's
a net. There's a gross and a net event. There's a handicapped event as well. So everybody's got a chance to win.
That's you, Kratz. That's you. Come down.
20 handicap. I'm getting strokes.
2-bedroom, Kratz. Come on down.
2 strokes on 2 holes.
I love that.
All right. Well, we'll post about it. We'll bring you back on. Obviously,
it is an awesome event. I was there last year. Yeah, it was very cool, and I am very disappointed I cannot play in it this year.
Yeah, but we'll have coverage. FT will be there, so we'll want to start getting the promo going so people are paying attention to it. And obviously, you can follow it. We'll post the social handles a little bit later on today too. But Whit, good to see you, dude. Happy off season, and we'll catch up with you in a few weeks.
All right, guys. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you, man. Whit Merrifield with us on FT. Coming right back. So Rob Thompson got extended. Clayton Kershaw's coming back. And then we'll talk to Jeff Francoeur soon. All right, so let's do the Kershaw one here. Well, no, I promised the TV crowd I would hit it, so maybe not. But we did get some news for next year, multiple sets of news. So we'll get to all of that. What did you think of Whit's reply about the weather situation and how players are not in the loop on any of it, including the player rep? Isn't that their job, that they're supposed to be receiving communication about what's going on? Is there a communication? No?
It's not really. All they do is call them and say, we're thinking about canceling. Can you figure out an off day? And they should have already thought about this because, again, like what it said, it wasn't like a thunderstorm popped up.
The team, the player, like who?
It's usually the team that starts it and then it gets to the player rep at the end.
Okay.
So usually the team has to make a decision and then they go to the player rep and the player rep has to ask the team, hey, guys, are you okay if we cancel this? We play a doubleheader, September, right? In April. And then everyone goes, yeah. And then everyone throws a party like it's the end of the world. And then that doubleheader comes and everyone's like, oh, we got to play a doubleheader today.
Who planned this one? Oh, AJ's our player rep. Screw you, AJ. I thought there was more communication. That's why I asked the question, because the way I always heard it, I was never a player rep. The way I always heard it was there was more communication, but you learn something new every day.
Go ahead, read that stat that Derek just pulled up.
61 and 32 when Whit Merrifield was on the team. 34 and 35 when they were without Whit Merrifield.
Yeah.
Just saying.
They did fall apart for their purposes. They were so good, I would call it falling apart. Played 500 ball for a while and then got bounced in your only round in the playoffs. Same case for Baltimore. Really good team. Both of those teams were on pace for 100-plus wins. And then they completely leveled out to 500 ball clubs for a good chunk of time, multiple months. And then they got bounced. And I felt like most of us saw it not for the Phillies as much. Most of us saw it coming for Baltimore. Everyone's like, man, this does not look good. And it did not look good. So anyway, let's get to
the Did the Orioles trade Whit too?
They made some misfires on the trade deadline landscape, I'll tell you that. Jeff Francoeur is waiting for us, so we'll get to Frenchie in 10 seconds.
French toast.
Here we go.
Whoa!
Ready. Whoa!
Hey.
Ready to go to
Senior
the ballpark.
pictures. That's so nice.
Right.
Senior pictures, glam shots.
You can polish a turd after all, boys. You can polish
No, you can't. I'm just happy that you have a shirt on, because I was told that you called somebody that I know shirtless and were like screaming at him on FaceTime for no good reason. So I don't know what happened, but that's why I texted you. I'm like, just please wear a shirt today.
That's my go-to move, dude. I try to do it to D-Row at least once a week during MLB Central.
I remember DeRosa used to say you would crash the party in the backyard and all that, right?
Yeah, why the hell would I pay for my pool when he's got one in his backyard?
Exactly. Now do you throw the kids over there too?
Oh, absolutely. Especially now that they can all swim. Go over.
I love it. All right, we'll try to be serious for like 10 minutes here. So how's the series going? You know, are you beating up Darling and Anderson in the booth there? And obviously it just started, but give us a little look at what to expect for game 2.
Well, I'll tell you what, guys. Y'all know as well as I do, if Ramirez and Naylor don't hit, they're in trouble. I mean, those are the two middle power bats. And through 6 games, you know, we did that 5 games, me and BA did with the Tigers. Through those, now through 6 games, they're hitting 152 combined with 3 extra base hits. And, you play the Yankees like that, and especially with Steven Kwan, David Fry, the way they've been getting on base, they're getting opportunities. They're just not able to take advantage. And last night, the walks. I think that's the biggest thing. I'm sure y'all two would agree, guys. The walks on the Yankees this year, 34 in 5 games. I mean, at some point, right, you got to make them hit the ball. So I would look to see the Guardians tonight pound that zone.
Are the Yankees, I mean, not just the Yankees, the Tigers too. Are the Tigers and the Yankees pitching so well to Hosey and Naylor, or are Hosey and Naylor kind of going out of their zone a little bit?
I think with Naylor for sure. You know, he can be aggressive. He can hack early. He's getting some pitches early, but then they're kind of exploiting. Rodon last night threw some sliders way outside the zone. With Hosey, I mean, he doesn't look like it. I mean, he's swinging at strikes. He had a great at-bat last night against Rodon there, that last inning. He absolutely smoked that ball that Judge caught to center field. But, they're going to have to be able to score, because ultimately the Yankees, were 171 with runners in scoring position versus the Royals, and they were 0 for 7 last night. So as I've continued to say, when they do start hitting with runners in scoring position, I mean, it could get ugly quick.
Okay, so then what's the key tonight? Is it that? Is it Ramirez and Naylor having to do something against Gerrit Cole? Is it Tanner Bibee giving the Guardians 3 innings so that Stephen Vogt can run to Smith and Herron and Gaddis and Clase? I mean, what's the key for the Guardians? Because I think this is a must-win for the Guardians. If the Guardians lose tonight, I think this could be over quickly.
I couldn't agree more. I said it. If they don't win tonight, AJ, there's a good chance we're not coming back to New York. And, if they do, you can kind of flip it a little bit and put some pressure on the Yankees going to Cleveland. But I think they got to get a lead tonight. Look, Ramirez got a couple homers. Naylor's got 3 bombs off Cole. And we all know in Yankee Stadium, Cole has struggled compared to on the road. And so I think they got to get some runs early. And look, Tanner Bibee on the road is the opposite. He's 2 points lower ERA on the road. And you just said it, AJ. If they can get a lead, 4th inning into the 5th, man, you're going to see the gauntlet of Cade Smith coming in, who's been absolutely freaking unbelievable, and then Heron and Gaddis to get to Clase. It's going to be they got all their horsemen going tonight out of that pen. But again, they got to, Lane Thomas, Fry, these guys have done a good job and come up with big hits. But it's got to be the 2 guys in the middle.
Do you feel like they were anticipating this? Like, hey, we got to take game 2. And I don't want to say they punted early, but I was going back and forth with these guys yesterday. I'm like, it's the biggest spot. Cleveland's aggressive as hell. You were on the previous series too, right? So you've seen how they've operated early in games sometimes to bring in some of those weapons because they have 4 or 5, right? I was surprised they went with Cantillo. This is a guy who looked like he was not ready for the moment, and that's okay. But I just was like, this is the game here. I felt like I was watching that. It's 1-0, right? It's 1-0.
Frenchie, what gave it away? The 4 lawn darts he threw on fastballs? And he wasn't ready. He's like, oh, the plate's over there. I'm going to throw it off the mound. And
But you guys kept saying, oh, this is a bridge just to get to Avila. But I'm like, but this is the game. And so in my mind, you didn't use any of your high leverage guys, but you lost the game. Like 1-0, you could have come back.
Oh, for sure. And I will say this, they continuously kept creeping back in it. Boone had to bring in Weaver. And, with the tie and run up with Brennan and Ramirez. So they made it a game. But look, at the end of the day, you said it, this is a must win today. Tanner Bibee has got to go 4 1/3, 4 2/3, and then you can go to that pen. But ultimately, again, we can talk all we want about that because they pitched outside of Cantillo. They pitched fine yesterday. They got to score. You got to be able to score. And I know this Yankees bullpen has been really, really good. And look, Rodon was good last night. That fastball was up here where those guys couldn't get to it. But tonight, this is a matchup where you would think, look, Cole is obviously a great pitcher, but he's got the ability to give up a long ball or 2. And I think that's what the Guardians are going to have to do. They're going to have to hit a couple home runs and then hope they can turn to that pen.
Frenchie, were you surprised last night? Because I mentioned this in the postgame last night. When they pinch hit for Fry, I was like, Fry hit a big homer for you guys to get you here and off a right-handed pitcher, and then you pinch hit for him. And no offense to Will Brennan, but I feel like I would have taken my chances with David Fry right there.
Yeah, AJ, and I actually mentioned that on air because BA was talking Brennan had been a good pinch hitter this year, but I'm with you. It's like Kike Hernandez right now. I don't care who comes in the game. He ain't coming out right now. He's getting big at-bats. And David Fry, his 2 biggest at-bats were against Bo Brisky, who's, arguably the best reliever on the Tigers. And then the other one, he got against somebody on the Tigers, he got a double down the left field line in game 1 off a righty. And there's just times, right, where you think a guy's swinging the bat, he's going well, he's feeling good. He got a hit off Rodon to start the game. And the other thing we can talk about, guys, it was cold last night. That was the first cold weather game you can truly say probably this postseason where it was really cold. So now Fry's already had 3 at-bats and Brennan's coming off the bench cold, and Weaver just went to town. And again, no disrespect to Brennan. I think he's a great player. And if he had started that game, it's like, okay, keep going. But, man, I'd have loved to see what Fry could do in that moment. And even if he puts one in play, a sac fly, you at least get to 5-3, right? And you put a little more pressure on whoever's coming in.
All right, so we're going to go to your body double. How are they going to pitch to Giancarlo Stanton?
Good question.
I appreciate it. I agree. We're very alike. I actually just showered, took the shirt off, and I'm like, upper chest is pretty solid. You know what? To be honest with you, I wouldn't pitch to him. I'd put his ass on base every time right now. I'm sorry. I'm not letting him beat me. The guys behind him really haven't done a whole lot for the Yankees. Jazz has that 1 home run, and he's capable of doing that. But until he shows me I couldn't believe Cobb that first inning, dude. He gave him 2-1 right down the middle, and he just missed it to left field. I mean, that he just missed it. I'm like, there was a base open, there's 2 outs. So, again, right now to me, Soto and Stanton, I'm being completely careful with. And if other guys start to swing it, then you know what, man, that's the length of the lineup. That's the Yankees. But until then, I'm not letting those 2 guys beat me.
How when you've talked to the managers here, you know, I'm assuming at least once, maybe twice here with Boone and Vogt, how have the combos been? And I guess especially on Vogt's side, have they given you any indication of how this series could look if they keep going deeper into it? You know, how you manage the 3 games in a row when they're so bullpen obsessed, how they don't really have the deep starting staff to be able to do this.
Well, Vogt told us, he said, I got to get length out of Tanner Bibee and I got to get length out of Matthew Boyd in game 3. I mean, that's their shot. If they're going to the pen in the 3rd inning, it's not going to work well. And they just, let's be honest, they just got away with it versus the Detroit Tigers. So, again, look, this bullpen is incredible. They're the best in baseball. I truly believe they have just different type guys that can come in. Kate Smith's got the best fastball in all of baseball out of that bullpen. But you can't go to it every single day. So I look here, game 2, they're well rested. They haven't pitched in over 2 days, any of the guys. You have an off day, travel day tomorrow, and you have game 3 that they can come out. So I think that's why it's so important for Cleveland. These next 2 games for them, they almost got to treat them like elimination games because, you know, AJ, you said it, I agree. If you get on a plane, you're down 2-0 tomorrow going to Cleveland, even if you take 2 out of 3 there, you still come back to the Bronx down 3-2. So Tonight is so important. We saw, look, the Mets played with a sense of urgency yesterday. Lindor, their big guy, got them off to that start, and then the grand slam by Vientos. So the Guardians kind of need that kind of night tonight to flip the script. Okay,
so enough of this series. Let's go back to where your heart lies. What are the Braves going to do this offseason? Are they going to cut payroll? What are they going to do this offseason? Because their team is pretty much set. Now they need a couple pieces. Max Fried's walking out that door. They bring back a Charlie Morton. What do the Braves do?
I go get Willie Adames. That's what I do. Or I go trade for Bo Bichette. They need a shortstop. They need a shortstop. I mean, you can sit there and say pitching, but you're going to have Lopez, you're going to have Sale, you're going to have Strider, and you're going to have Schwellenbach. And so, yes, maybe you go get a guy for $8, $9, $10 million. I don't think you got to go get a top-of-the-line guy. That money that whether Fried leaves, the money Fried and Morton have, I'm going to get a shortstop. You know, that would, again, lengthen the heck out of that lineup because their bullpen's pretty settled again. You got Pierce Johnson coming back. You got Iglesias coming back, and you got Jimenez coming back. You know, A.J. Minter, it'll be interesting to see what they do if they let him walk. You know, you might have to go get a lefty if you do that, but look, they're pretty well set again. I mean, the injuries is what crushed them, but I think you've got to get an elite shortstop, whether it's Bo Bichette, Willie Adames. You got to get someone that's got power in that position. If you do that again, you have one of the deepest lineups in baseball if everybody's healthy.
Does it feel unfair that they fired the coaches that they fired? I mean, it feels like it's like, you know, we didn't win a World Series and we had half our team, so let's go ahead and fire some coaches.
You know, you can sit here and say yes, but, you know, look, AJ had Kevin Seitzer too. And look, Kevin Seitzer is a good hitting coach. He's old school. And some of these new guys, we all know what they come in now. You know, I was talking to Chris Valleca yesterday, and he's like, all these guys come in with their own personal hitting coaches, right? So it's almost like, hey, what were y'all working on? And then how can I come beside you? And Seitz is old school, man. He's been around a long time, and that's not necessarily how he works. So I think at the end of the day, I think he's a great hitting coach. I think he's done a great job in Atlanta. But you're somewhere 10 years, man. That's a long time. And, you know, I just saw the same thing with Gary Pettis in Houston. Didn't get renewed at third base. I love GP. I think Gary Pettis is one of the best, but he's been there with Dusty a long time. Now, you know, Joe maybe gets to bring one of his guys in. So it didn't surprise me as much just because, you know, sometimes it's good to get a fresh voice. And I think it'll help a little bit.
Okay, before you go, Frenchie, I appreciate you wearing Gator colors in your outfit today.
Mets colors.
Is it Mets colors? Gator colors?
No, this is more like Tigers colors. Katie, you know, she put all my suits together. Like I know your wife does too, AJ, because she ain't letting you go out there with looking like a scrub. But I did tell her, I'm like, you know, if the Tigers make it to the ALCS, I cannot wear this. I'll look like a straight Tigers fan coming on. So
Auburn colors. So you went Auburn colors.
Yeah, well, you talk about a rough year.
Well, we'll go put that suit to use. All right. We'll see you on the broadcast later. Have a great call with the guys. It's been fun listening to you in the last round and then game one here. But thanks for the time, Frenchie. Really appreciate it, dude.
Thanks, guys. Y'all are the best.
Thank you. You too, man. Jeff Francoeur with us. You'll hear him tonight on the TBS coverage of ALCS Game 2. Do you ever think about that for your suit? I used to do that when I was calling games.
Oh, what color suit I had on?
So lined up with the colors of the team, I'm like, I got to mix this up a little.
No,
sometimes
every
happens,
time,
but
every week, not the suit, the tie.
Right.
Like, so when I did the
shirt and tie,
you do a certain game and you're like, oh, I want to wear this tie. And you're like, oh, well, it's Mets, Braves. I can't wear an orange and blue tie and I can't wear a blue and red tie. So you got to go out on a limb and get something different. Right. So it's like, yes, it's weird because even though you don't think anything about it. Now I've done a White Sox game before and I've worn like black and white on purpose, but there's, you have to think about, because people on
socials,
will be like, oh, look, he's a homer because his tie colors. Like, I don't care about my tie colors.
I also used to think about this, even though it never even came up, but I would just think about it when I was doing reporting and I was on the playoffs for a particular series. I'm in the clubhouse a lot and I'm interviewing the guys. So same thing. But then it starts to get long. Like I'd be on the road for a month and I'm like, damn, I got to keep like playing this game where I'm not going to wear the suit and then I'm like, who's going to win? If I'm doing the champagne celebration, I'm in there and it looks too much like the other team. Like it's stupid, but it is actually a real thing. So a little inside baseball.
But here's my question. Like and people at home probably don't know this story, but like, how many suits do people own? Because like
you gotta have a lot.
You do, but eventually you have to have shirts and
suits.
Ties.
You're okay.
Suits because you can wear, but
dark suit.
Dick Stockton.
Yeah, the
told Eric Kratz this, and it's one of the great lines of all time about suits. He's like, all these guys, they go out and they spend all this money on suits. He goes, I wear the same navy blue blazer for 30 years and nobody said a word because he changes, and you're on once a week, right? So like I went like 4 years and wore the same coat.
Because you can do that with the coat. You can't do that with the shirt.
No, shirt. You change the shirt and tie. But I bought a black blazer in 1999 in Las Vegas. We were in AAA. We're in Vegas. I got called up from Vegas, and I didn't have a sport coat. I didn't have nothing. So the manager, Phil Roof, let me go to the mall and buy one. So I ran into every store, and there was one they had, and it was $1,000. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm spending $1,000. I still got it. And I wore that thing. I still have it. It still fits. And for 4 years, it finally started to kind of like, how suits kind of get like where
they fray kind of, right?
Yeah, like they're not like slick. They're like they kind of get like, I don't know.
Ruffled?
Yeah, a little bit from over time. Yeah.
Yep. Got to change your shirt and tie. Five minutes for Hot Corner. So let's start with Rob Thompson. Contract extended through 2026. Entire coaching staff returning next season for the Phillies. Thoughts? I mean, obviously. See, this is actually the opposite approach. Some teams don't go as far as they want to go, and they say, well, who's going to take a hit? Someone's got to take a hit. Phillies were like, nope, no one's taking a hit. I mean, the player roster.
Some on the roster is going to have change.
Yeah, you're not going to send the same exact crew out there.
They tried it, though, this year.
Yeah, from last year. It was very similar.
Last 2 years, really.
It's been a very similar mix. That part, I mean, Philly expert Erik Kratz, the core is not going to change. The guys that are there on long-term deals are not getting moved. Most of them have no trade clauses. They're not dealing most of the core. I'm talking about Scherzer, Trey, obviously, Bryce, even Castellanos, go down the line. I mean, some of the guys that aren't on longer-term deals, but still, like, they're not moving in my mind. JT, right? I've just named most of the lineup already. None of those guys are moving. It's on the edges. And it's, do they do something crazy, like actually pursue, which we talked about yesterday, a Soto? I don't think they're getting him, but
That's why you keep Kevin Long.
Yeah.
You got it, AJ.
I
mean, Philly is up in arms. Philly is on fire right now because not one coach, not one manager, nothing changed. And they are like so pissed off about it. But you heard what Whit said? Like, that's so shallow thinking. That's so like you're trying to come up with an excuse when you have to fire the coaches. Now, if there's a difference in philosophical difference in how you feel like you're going to be running the hitting or the pitching or the bullpen, yeah, then you make a change. But most likely you hired that person knowing those philosophical differences. And they had a tight-knit group. This team was a tight-knit group. That means the coaches and the managers allowed them to be a tight-knit group. So, yeah, you run it back. You run it back with the core. I would say the core that's not coming back are what you said, except maybe, I think there's a chance because of Nick's value being a little higher. He could have some value if they have to move and they make a big splash with like a Juan Soto. But Stott and Bohm, I see them staying. You have 4 really good starters in Ranger, Wheeler, Nola, and Christopher Sanchez. I think they look for a 5th starter. I think they do what Whit said. You just get hot at the right time.
So basically what I'm learning is there's not much to change.
Well, they can't change a lot of their core because they can't trade them.
Yeah.
Right? Bohm, Stott, or the main Rojas, maybe a Brandon Marsh has some value. But, can you get what you think you deserve for a Nick Castellanos? But then do you want to lose him hitting behind Bryce? Because he was the one guy that could hit behind Bryce.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, now if you go get Soto, all bets are off on everything.
Sure.
But you're going to have to clear some money. Like John Middleton doesn't have limitless money. He's not Guggenheim.
And it's not just that. It's how much MLB punishes you. There is a soft salary cap in baseball. Yes. We always talk about this. You can spend as much as you want, but you will get severely punished, not just financially. You will lose draft picks, and you do take a hit. So we'll see what happens. All right, next up for a couple minutes, Kershaw yesterday announced he's coming back, running it back. He was okay when he was on the mound. He didn't pitch much.
I love that he came back and said it early, though. That was cool.
Yeah. He doesn't want to go out this way.
No, I hope he comes back and has a healthy year.
Me too.
And is able to pitch the whole year and goes
He's
out.
Not going to pitch the whole year, though.
But gets his 20 to 25 starts.
Right.
They're going to IL him when they need to IL him. But you'd love to see these guys go out the way they do. Hopefully, the Dodgers have one of those Tim Wakefield, Andrew McCutchen kind of deals where he can come back, at any time he wants, for as long as he wants.
What a great career. Never want to see him go out that way. I just hope it doesn't happen again. I just hope there isn't I hope they can mitigate those injuries because you don't want guys to end like this. And pitchers, if anybody ages well, pitchers have aged well in the most recent past, not recent future, recent past.
You're talking about like the Verlanders and Scherzers of the world that have carried their careers deep into their 30s.
More than position players. Way more than position players.
Position players aren't allowed though. A lot of times.
Well, they cycle you out and bring in the next group.
Pitchers are harder to find.
Yeah, especially
so
starters.
they give them a little bit of a longer leash because remember a couple of years ago Verlander kind of was going through it, and then all of a sudden he rediscovered himself, right? And and so I mean, listen, I hope Kershaw comes back. I hope Max comes back. I hope Verlander comes back.
Yeah, Kershaw made 7 starts this year and then wasn't, going to be good for the playoffs. The only thing I'm learning from this is maybe he does feel like the prognosis long term is good enough that this isn't something that's going to be so debilitating that he can't pitch anymore, right? So we'll see what happens. But cool, that will have him back, giving it a go for 2025. Last word.
Kershaw's been over a 4 ERA. I mean, over a 3 ERA twice in his career before this season.
That's nasty.
Just so you know. He had a 3.03 and a 3.55 in 2 different seasons.
Legendary starter for a long time. Legendary Hall of Fame pitcher who hopefully has one more good season before he calls it quits. All right, we'll be right back on FT. We got locks ready. I mean, we got to pick up the pace here. We've got one game to choose from. Come on, guys.
Come on, guys.
all still down.
I'm not.
You're not?
What?
Mm-mm.
Oh, Kratz
I'm
is
not
up.
down.
It is up. I'm sorry.
I'm not down
Whatever.
either.
I don't want to ruin it. We might have to change. I'm looking at the money bags right now.
I can't be down. I won $534 yesterday.
You did.
Ooh,
Yesterday.
make it rain.
Yeah.
I'm about to go big today. I'm about to win so much money. I'm gonna kick Scott Braun out of my house for 2 weeks.
That is actually true.
Do it.
It's the last day with us here until World Series.
Until World Series.
World Series time. One more reminder also, if you've gotten this far into the show, post-game shows schedule-wise tonight, if you'd like to see a little more after Yankees Guardians, Derek has you covered with Pinstripe Territory. Tomorrow, after Yanks are off, after Mets and Dodgers, Kratz, me, maybe others, will be on. Thursday, you'll have Dodgers Territory, maybe us. Friday, you'll definitely have Dodgers Territory. So, and then we'll see what the schedule looks like going forward. But also expect us to be on after just about every World Series game. Maybe not one on the weekend, but just giving you all a little inside look at what to expect. So if you're one of those people that watches us later in the day when you get home from work, 5, 6, 7 o'clock, and you want to catch us live and say what's up, then that's your chance. So subscribe to Foul Territory on YouTube, wherever you get your pods. Tiger Territory too, which was number 1 on the podcast charts yesterday for a little jump, as that's a new channel. And make sure you follow that if you're a Tiger fan. We've got 10 total shows in the FT network. Be right back with locks. BetMGM locks yesterday was successful for Pierzynski, plus 178 on his parlay. No sweat.
Vientos grand slammy, easy, and then Gleyber got a hit early and then scored a run early. So yeah, it was pretty no sweaty.
Nice job. No walk for J-Ram and no win for Cleveland for me. So here we are. AJ's up a few bucks. Pap's down a lot of bucks. I'm down medium bucks. Kratz is up a few bucks. So
Pap sucks.
Papelbon
Pap
has
sucks.
work to do. He's working. He's working hard right now.
Pap sucks.
But he's back. He's there, right? He shows up after the loss, after the blown save, and he talks to the media. So here he is.
What's up, my FT fam, FT people? Come out back in my backyard, get some peace, man. Yankees winning last night was a lot of drinking going on in that game last night. Didn't like to see that. So today, of course, I got to take the Guardians, and I'm also going to take the under. That's going to be plus 185, I believe. We're going to put 200 on it. I think a total purse of 570. And we're going to have a solitude night. We're going to get these Indians through. We're going to get it through, baby. You got to have faith. And let's just don't pitch a Soto anymore, all right? Peace.
So he's
He
going
picked the Guardians.
Yeah.
He picked the Guardians at plus 1.5, though. So he didn't really pick the Guardians.
Right.
True.
He picked them.
But
with
he
the
also
line.
took the under, too.
Yeah. They're also the Guardians now, just
Yeah.
to clarify for
Well,
anyone
you
that
know.
knows. But
Where he
looks a little
lives, the news
dejected
doesn't
right
travel
now.
as fast there.
No. In the SIP. He needs a little, I don't know. He might need to come on the show. And just get
He
pumped
looks
up.
depressed to me.
He looks sad.
Yeah, he needs a hug.
I mean, he's 0 for 4 so far in the playoffs.
Oof.
Hey,
So,
tough
all right,
tough
help him
end of the
out.
regular season, too. He's kind of like the
Yeah, he
Phillies.
did.
Kind of faded down the stretch.
You're right. And he started out sizzling. But, hey, things can turn around. Drop of a dime. What'd you cook up today? Oh, something simple.
I'm very, very simple today.
Okay.
I'm going Jose Ramirez for a walk. It's plus 200.
Why?
I don't
Why is it
know,
plus
but he
200?
has 7 career walks off Gerrit Cole. He also hits 350 off of him. And if Naylor ain't swinging it very well, Jose Ramirez is going to walk tonight. So I'm putting 500 off to win 1,000. That's it. Boom. I'm up 1,031.
I have a question. If there's a situation where there's a base open in the right spot, isn't Gerrit Cole going to do the famous?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay. We'll see.
But I mean, plus 200 is too much to not give away.
That's a big boy bet right there. Plus 200. Wow, for a walk from J-Ram. Kratz, what do you got?
Love it. I'm going J-Ram also. All the numbers that AJ just said. I'm going plus 110 on a 1.5 over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. Because the guy behind him, Naylor, I know he hasn't been hot, but as he showed in the playoffs the other year, Gerrit's his baby. So he's had success against him. I'm hoping he'll be able to drive Hosey in, even if he does walk him, because I am tailing AJ's bet to the moon for sure.
There you go. I'm just lost right now. I'm on a cold streak, but I'm going to go Cole over 1.5 runs. So I could see him going, 6-7 innings, maybe giving up 2 or 3. And then I'll take the under, which I bought up. So it's 11.5. I need to get under that mark to get to plus 120. So I'm covering myself in case there's a little more scoring because I didn't want to
get 11.5. Geez.
I didn't want to dance with the over under in the 7 range. It's too small. There's too many variables when it's that small,
By the way, Jose Ramirez 9 for 23 with 2 homers and 5 RBIs against Gerrit Cole. 6 walks, 4 strikeouts. OPS of 1283.
4. Good luck to everyone on their bets tonight. And also make sure you're hitting a home run prop. And Kratz, after I say this, give me something for tonight because you were successful yesterday. If you have the app or you're a member of the BetMGM Sportsbook, you got an account, you place a bet at least $10 on a player to hit a home run prop in a game. And if that player hits a home run into an MLB team bullpen, you win a share of a daily $50,000 BetMGM bullpen jackpot paid out in bonus bets that expire in 7 days. So Kratz picked Juan Soto yesterday. He showed his receipt online. Good job, Kratz. What you got tonight?
I'm just waiting for my bullpen bonus bets to kick into my account. Giancarlo Stanton. It's going to hit a little 2-iron straight into the bullpen. A little bounce off the top of the fence in left center, right in.
Boom. There you go.
His known factor. By the way, Josh Naylor 2 for 16 with 1 homer off Gerrit Cole. Just FYI.
There's
Not in the playoffs.
Well, I'm just saying these are the numbers that the stat place is giving me.
Well, they're wrong because I know of 3 homers that he's hit against him.
Wow. Okay. So they're regular season numbers. That's often the case that they post regular season.
In the playoffs, he has 2.
Yeah.
He's 4 for 9 in the playoffs with 2 homers.
Ooh. Okay. All right. So we'll see what happens. Good luck to everyone on their bets tonight. And yeah, this one's tough to predict for later. We'll slap next on FT.
Wait, hold up. Intentional walks don't count?
No, they do.
They count.
They count.
Oh, because people in the chat are saying they don't count.
I don't know. Last year when I hit it, it definitely counted.
That's a walk. It's considered a walk, right? We're going to need to figure that out because, I don't know. That doesn't seem right.
No, I'm pretty sure they count, but
I hit it last year. Corey Seager had that game where he had like.
See, Toasty's saying they do not count.
Wow.
I'll be real with you. I'm not a walk prop guy, so that is not my field of expertise. So I will do some digging. He said they do not count, I assure you.
Hold on, I'm reading right now.
Thank you, Toasty.
What's the deal?
We are finding out right now.
Mm.
And Jose last night swung at ball 4 that heater in that broke his bat right before he hit the rocket to left center that Judgy ran down. Hosey had my ball 4.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good at bat.
What if
0-2
it's
to
3-1? What if it's 3-1 and you're just like, screw it, put him on? Now it wipes it out.
That doesn't make sense to me. I don't know. I'm trying to find it, but I can't find it anywhere.
Well, Toasty, if you're listening, Toasty, make sure I get my bonus bets because
the good news is
I want to know how many people chose Juan Soto to hit a dinger.
The good news is I do have some connections, so I will text now and I'll see if I can get an answer in the next 10 minutes before the show ends. So quick flash, give us 1 minute, and then we'll come back to slap.
I don't think.
Let's lap. Reminder to everyone, we have Baseball America Hot Sheet coming up after Foul Territory. If you're watching on YouTube, you can head over to that channel, or if you're watching there, you can just leave your screen and we'll take you over there on our own. We are getting guests pretty frequently now, so we have multiple guests joining the show. Trey Phelps, who is a top 50 prospect in the Angel system, so you know he'll be up in the big soon. And Ethan Salas, top 20 prospect on Baseball America's list. Padres number 1 prospect.
Tell him I said hi. I played with his dad.
Does he know you?
No.
Well, then if I say Erik Kratz says hi, he's going to say, who
No,
dat?
tell his dad. No, tell his.
Oh.
So his
Pat's not going to be on
roommate.
the show?
No.
Tell his roommate is Kai Murphy, Pat Murphy's son.
Oh, that's cool. Okay. That's a good question.
I thought Jackson Merrill was his roommate. At one point, that's what Murph says. Murph's lying about something.
Well, he might have been at some point. But anyway, check out Hot Sheet. It's going to be good. We got multiple guests. And then one other announcement about Hot Sheet. Time change. Starting next week, the show will be 3:30 Eastern time on Mondays. So our Mondays will have FT 1 to 3, Dodgers Territory 3 to 3:30, and then Hot Sheet 3:30 to 4. No more Tuesday Hot Sheet. Monday is a better day for scheduling purposes. And actually, even during the season, you know what Monday is for the minor leaguers.
Off days.
But it makes it easier to get the guys to come on the show because they have them doing a lot. Depending on your team, I mean, you guys know in the minor leagues, there's a little more of a schedule. Is that a fair way to put it? Right? So it's a little tougher sometimes to work out the scheduling. So some more inside baseball on what we're experiencing there. Anyway, Kratz hats and then Kratz sweatshirt, please.
I had to make sure that I wore it. That way Ken got to talk to somebody that had a San Diego's hat on. I just one San Diego Padres hat on.
Well,
listen, Ken's still trying to recover from his caviar and champagne on his flight.
Yeah, boozy flight. FoulTerritoryShop.com. That mic scratch sounds really nice.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good, but it looks good. Thank you, Kratz.
Such a soft, warm sweatshirt.
It's great.
It's like AJ, soft and warm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Reminder to everyone to check out everything that we're doing on social media. We got, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, the whole deal. Sometimes
A lot of birthdays today. A lot of good birthdays today, too.
You got one you want to shout out?
Jack Flaherty, Teo.
Oh, did you see his agent? He's a big fan of the show, by the way, Rafa Nieves. Did you see what he tweeted?
About Teo? He didn't sign what he did.
I thought that was really cool.
It was
to
cool.
give everyone a little bit of insight. If I can find it real quick, I'll pull it up.
Who else's birthday is on here?
Cody Carroll.
Cody Carroll. But here's some blasts from the past. Jim Palmer, which is cool. Chad Mottola still has the best body in baseball. He's like 55 years old now, and he's still ripped. And then my first pitching coach in the big leagues, Dick Such. Happy birthday, Suchy. Yeah, Erik Kratz is like, what?
Dick Such.
Dick Such, yeah.
All right, we got
Pitched at Elon College. Yeah.
We got 1 minute. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but you can look it up at MLB_agent. He explained the thought process behind the 1-year deal for Teoscar Hernandez and ended it with, on top of that, he made more money this year than he would have made on that 3-year deal, and now he will go back out in the market after a career year. Who's laughing now? Because I'm laughing. He said the market was soft, because that's true. He was coming off a down year, playing in a very pitcher-friendly environment, looking for a 3-year deal, read the market, said that might not exist, asked him what he wanted, and he was like, I want to play deep into October. So he's like, let's find you the best short-term deal on the best team that is interested in your services.
I like the check marks that he put at the bottom of the tweet, too. It checks
Career high
off
home.
all the things.
Yeah, career high WAR, all-star, home run derby champ, best regular season record in MLB.
He could be a Philly next year.
Everybody can't be a Philly.
They're going to sign Teo, Soto. Then they're going to be like
Max Reed,
LeBron in Miami.
Bregman.
Not one, not two.
Nobody's signing Soto but the Yankees. Everyone else is just building the pot. Everyone's just pushing that price higher and higher. Nobody's signing them but the Yankees. You can put that in your book.
Mets could push chips.
By the way, I'm going to be pissed if my bet don't cash.
Why?
If he intentionally walked and that doesn't count, that is, in the immortal words of somebody, that is some bull.
Hey.
To be continued. Here we are. All right, so we have hot sheet coming up in 2 minutes and 2 guests. So also reminding everyone, if you haven't checked out the show before, please give it a look and give them a little subscribe to the Baseball America YouTube channel. And if you have a request for a prospect you'd like to hear from, we're pretty connected, so we should be able to get them for you. So let us know. And you can send that to FT. I know some people send their guest requests either by dropping a rating and review in the podcast page. We see those, or they send us a DM on Instagram or on Twitter. We see those too. I don't catch every comment, to be honest. So sometimes when someone leaves a particular comment, that's a little too much for me. I do not catch all of the Twitter comments, all of the YouTube comments and all that. As friendly as they always are, I can't catch all of them. So just putting that out there. But that's all I got. Let's watch the game.
Well, see you guys in 2 weeks.
AJ's out for a bit. Kratz is not. I'll be at Kratz's spot on Thursday. I'll be with Todd Father on Wednesday and Friday for shows coming up this week. And then next week we'll have some Todd Father. Try and maybe get a little either Cameron Maben, Dylan Betances, Trevor May. We've got a pretty deep bench these days. Got a good list of guys. Austin Jackson, part of Tiger territory. So the player roster is increasing. Different positions, different team backgrounds, the whole deal. All right, we'll see everyone on Wednesday's show for FT, and Hot Sheet is coming up next.